Folks, we'll call this meeting to order, and we're going to open with a public hearing, revisions to the county's community development block grant and home program budget modifications. So I'd like to ask Kate Molinaro to address us on this issue.
Good morning. The county is proposing the following modifications to its 2012 CDG and 2013 home investment partnerships program budgets. In 2012 community development block grant, we are proposing that we cancel the activity public facility ADA improvements North Market Street crosswalk in Mechanicsburg Borough. The borough has determined that there's no longer a need for this project. And with that $15,000, we're proposing that the county create a new activity titled Acquisition Main Street Blight Removal in Mechanicsburg Borough and funded at $35,000. These funds include the $15,000 and then a $20,000 unanticipated program income. And they'll be used to acquire a burn certified blighted property for demolition in the borough. You may all be aware of the 203 East Main Street property that was burned right before the 4th of July. And then the acquisition demo would be pending environmental review clearance. The borough intends that the end use would be recreational space. In 2013 home, we're proposing to reduce the activity owner-occupied rehabilitation by $2,352.20. These are excess rehabilitation costs that won't be used for rehabilitation. And we're proposing to use that money to increase the activity rental Shepherd's Crossing by $2,352.20. And these funds will be used for delivery expenses associated with the ongoing inspections of the Shepherd's Crossing property in Hampton Township. I'd be happy to answer any questions related to these modifications.
So essentially what we're talking about here, Kate, is a reallocation with respect to Mechanicsburg.
Yes.
The funding is still going to be used in the borough of Mechanicsburg.
Yes, and the Mechanicsburg Borough has approved this redirection of the funds. They would be supportive of this.
Are there any comments from the audience or the public? Okay, hearing none. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Close the hearing, open the regular meeting. Let's call the meeting to order, but let's stand for the pledge of
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome everybody to the September 10th, 2015 Commissioners Workshop meeting. I'd like to call this meeting to order and open the floor for public comment. Hearing none, I would like to call on Commissioner Chrysler and Judge Guido for employee recognition of Sandra Davis for 30 years of service.
Thank you, Larry. Most everybody knows I've only been here for a short time. 3 years of working on 9 months to be precise. And as I've said before, and I know it's getting old to some, but I'll repeat it anyway here today. I'm still new here, despite my longevity in terms of age, because my colleagues like to play on occasion. But one of the things that I've come to appreciate in the short time that I've been here is that I've been honored to serve and with a dedicated professional, proven folks with proven performance who have been here for so many years, long before I was honored to begin serving here. And once in a while, we although it may not be often enough, we do take time to recognize these hardworking employees for their service to our county, and that's what we're about to do this morning. So I'd kind of like to ask Judge Guido and Sandy Davis to come forward. So Sandy, you started working here back in 1985, is that correct?
Yes.
And as a secretary in the court system, promoted to staff assistant in January of 1992, promoted to secretary for the judges in February of 1994, and promoted to administrative supervisor in 2004 and been in that position ever since. So on behalf of the Board of Commissioners, we want to thank you for your 30 years of service to Cumberland County and a small token of our appreciation. Okay.
It's been real.
Your Honor?
Sandy tells me she's 88 years old when she started working in the county. And as we were walking down here today, I said, I know she's getting a gift. I wonder if I'm getting something for putting up with her. And actually, she and I have been together for almost 18 years. And one of the best personnel decisions I ever made was to take Jake Shealy's advice and keep her on as my secretary. And it has been real nice. Thank you, sir.
Let's take a picture here. So let me go over on this side. Okay, that's good. That's good. All right.
Everybody can just move from just
That a little bit.
Do you have a wide angle?
I just give me a smile. Let me take one more. Good, thank you. Appreciate it.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you. We'd like to now call on police again, Commissioner Hertzler and Paul Darshan, for employee recognition for Brian James for 25 years of service.
All right, congratulations. Brian's been with us for 25 years and as a district technician in conservation, originally hired in 1990, a long time. We want to thank you for your service and a small token of our appreciation for all this years of dedicated service. Do you have anything you'd like to?
It's been a pleasure being here for 25 years.
I'll just say a few words that Brian actually replaced me. I was technician, moved up to manager, so my first order of business was to hire a replacement for myself. So we hired Brian and he stuck around for 25 years, so I think it was a great decision by the district and the county.
Thanks for your service.
Smile. And one more. Good, thank you.
Keep up your good work, man.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item number 5, calling Barbara Grossa. Review the approval of motion to execute declaration of August 2015, voluntary separation of contributions for county participants.
Morning, Commissioners. This is the procedural part of the VSP. When someone meets the requirements, we have to declare the contribution for that individual. This is someone who retired in August, met the program criteria. After this, we will have one more person who I believe retires in September, and we will have completed the VSP if everybody can enroll.
Any questions or comments for Bob? Thank you, Robert. Moving on to item number 6, once again, Kate Molinaro for discussion on the revisions of the county's CDBG and HOME program budget modifications.
I think we just request that you approve the modifications discussed in the public hearing.
Any additional questions?
Thanks,
Kate.
Thanks, Kate. Moving on to item number 7, Kate's partner in crime, Ben Waterville, Cumberland County Redevelopment Authority agreements.
Good morning, Commissioners. This is pretty standard agreement for us. I have learned that in other jurisdictions there's a grant agreement that the county, if the jurisdiction is indemnified, we separate it out into 3 separate agreements. We already executed one agreement where the subrecipient of RACP funds in the IAC site here in Carlisle has indemnified us. So these 2 agreements that I asked you to consider today, the first one is Carlisle Events indemnifying the county should any charges be deemed ineligible. The second agreement's a little bit more complicated, but in essence, the authority indemnifies the county if any of those costs are deemed ineligible. So we'd ask that you approve these. We're days, maybe weeks away from receiving our first reimbursement. It's been about a year since we started the process. The state is very slow in moving this forward. However, Murphy's Law states that if I don't have these signed and executed, we'll receive the reimbursement right away. So I ask you to consider it when we meet again. Any questions?
Is it okay if we take action on this on Monday?
Absolutely.
The observations from solicitor. Yeah, there's some additional language that I asked you to put in there, and I'm waiting for that to get back to me from Tricia.
Okay.
So Monday, will be done by Monday, I'm sure.
Good.
Yeah, you'll see it in your mailbox here in the West. Get back to you.
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to item number 8, call on Nicole McElwee and Lisa Ryder, CYS base budget for fiscal year 16-17.
Morning, Commissioners. We're here for the second part of the base budget for fiscal year 16-17. We presented the first part back in August, a month ago. At that point, I had a budget summary which had estimates in it because fourth quarter expenses and revenues were not final at that point. They are now at this point. You should have in front of you a budget summary that has been updated. The revenues came in for Title 40 higher than I anticipated. I always like to estimate and be conservative when I estimate and work on my budget. So I was pleased that they came in higher. So on the revised fiscal year 15-16, I anticipated overmatch being just over $500,000. Now with the new revenues for Title 40 inputted, I estimate overmatch being approximately just under $200,000 instead of $500,000, which is great.
That's nice. We like that.
Yes, we do. So then that changes our numbers moving forward to 16-17. So we are requesting for fiscal year 16-17 the county support a match of $3.15 million. I looked at the last few years. The county share is approximately 17, 18, 19%, and that would put us at approximately 18% of our total budget.
So it's a little bit, it's higher.
It's a little
Then
bit.
the average.
Last year, for 16-17, it's 19, or for 15-16, it's 19, and for 16-17, it's 18, for 14-15, it was 17, so it varies a little bit, so.
And I just want to make sure that everybody knows that we've been working very hard with CYS and CYS. Numbers aside, you all are up against a big increase in volume of referrals due to the new legislation that we passed. And I think we've been working very closely together to make sure that you all have the appropriate staffing level to be able to deal with that. And I think just so everybody knows, this budget reflects the advanced planning and the risk management processes that we've gone through.
Yeah.
Terrific. And it's good that it came in less than we thought.
Yeah.
Have we received our allocation for 14-15, the final?
We have not. We actually have up through our second quarter, Act 148. Third quarter has not been received yet. Fourth quarter is just being submitted. That always will be later.
Okay.
And we have not received it, obviously, 15-16.
Okay.
We should
Well,
receive
one of the
it.
things, and I was on a CCAP conference call here, I guess about a week or so ago, and when all this, I mean, hope the legislature enacts the budget pretty soon. But one of the benefits, if you could call it benefit, the legislature's budget not being approved is the fact that we are expected to get our fourth quarter payment from 14-15. Yeah, so, and of course, the discussion continues on the state budget, so we'll see how that all works out in the end. But as Larry mentioned, one of the things that's, really important is for us to impress upon our legislature, along the lines of the fact that this suggested rebalancing would throw our counties into a serious financial situation. So hopefully that can be corrected in the days leading up to the final budget resolution. Thank you both.
You have a signature page?
Yes.
Well, please, so Nikki, how do you like being in Boston?
Oh, it's amazing.
Amazing.
Wonderful. That's everything I dreamed of.
Well, we're glad to have you.
Thank you, thank you.
I'd like to move on to contracts and grants and turn it over to Sandy Boyle.
Thank you, Ed. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to begin this morning by calling on Wendy Schaefer to discuss the 5 aging and community service agreements. Wendy?
Good morning. Aging has, out of the 5, 3 of them are addendums. They are to close out the 14-15 budget. The first 2, actually the first and the third, Carlisle Cares and Domestic Violence, both receive funds from our homeless assistance program. We are adding an additional $3,500 to Carlisle Cares. The total award for 14-15, $13,500. Domestic violence, we plan to give an additional $3,353, which makes their total award $5,353. The third is Contact Helpline. It receives funds from our Human Services Development Fund. So they will receive an additional $15,545, which makes their total award $16,045. The next agreement is a food bank agreement, no funds to distribute food for us for our food bank program. And the final agreement is for a 1-day parking permit. It's for the city of Harrisburg. And the reason for it is for an active aging day, which is being put together by our senior centers. We plan on holding it Wednesday, September the 30th at City Island. It will include a ride on the Pride of the Susquehanna, train ride around the island, games such as miniature golf and skee ball and the other things that they have available, as well as lunch. The cost for using the facilities at City Island totals $670 and requires our signature.
Any questions for Wendy? Thank you.
Thanks, Wendy.
Next, I'd like to call Penny Brown to discuss the agreement between the Bureau of Elections and Penske Truck Leasing. Penny?
Good morning, Commissioners. This is our standard agreement with Penske Truck to rent 4 trucks to deploy and redeploy the voting machines for November's election.
Any questions for Penny? Thank you, Penny. Next, I'd like to call Lynette to discuss the 4 CNRC agreements. Lynette?
On behalf of Claremont, requesting the approval of the addendum to the current alert pharmacy contract, and that is just to identify that they would be supplying the equipment to do the advertising within their facilities at their cost. The second contract is the new 15-16 contract for the actual pharmaceutical services. The dispensing portion of the contract has gone down approximately $250 a month. The salary part of it has gone up approximately $110, so overall a reduction. And the pharmaceuticals are all based on the same percentage of the list, which is how the pharmaceuticals are sold to us. The third item is the patient ping software agreement, or not agreement, just I guess it's agreement. It would be a web-based software that we're being asked to participate in for Pinnacle. It is a matter of just a web-based software that Mark has looked at, that we have to put in certain criteria of the patients that we see so that they are collecting the necessary data that they need for how their patients are responding in our rehab. The fourth contract is a revenue contract, Vibrant Health Plan. That is a Medicare Advantage health program, and they pay 90% of the Medicare RUG. And we currently do not have that as a covered offering of in-network revenue source, and so we would like to expand into that branch. And that is used in a lot of the local hospitals, including Hershey, Carlisle, and many Cumberland County and connecting county facilities. Any questions?
Thank you, Lynette.
I'm sorry, Lynette. On the Vibrant Health, you said they pay at 90% of Medicare?
Of the Medicare RUG, yes. So we would be assessing them on the Medicare, traditional Medicare evaluation system, and then we would be getting 90% of that. And that is better than a lot of the HMOs or the PPOs that are the Advantage program. We do not get as much for a commercial Medicare plan than we do a traditional Medicare plan, but they're still skilled.
Okay, thank you.
Next, I'd like to call on Ryan Simon, who will discussing the 5-year grant agreement with the Pennsylvania Department of Drug and Alcohol Programs. Ryan?
Good morning, Commissioners. This 5-year grant agreement between the Department of Drug and Alcohol Programs and the Cumberland Area Drug and Alcohol Commission gives us the authorization to provide drug and alcohol prevention, treatment, and education services in Cumberland County. The contract year period is July 1st, 2015 through June 30th, 2020. It's been reviewed by the solicitor, and it's basically the main system that authorizes us to receive our funding from the state.
Are there any questions for Ryan? Thank you, Ryan. Next, I'd like to call on John Locke to discuss the agreement between facilities management and affordable elevator inspections. John?
Yes, Commissioners, this is an agreement with affordable elevator inspections. It takes effect on January 1st, 2016, and is for the annual elevator inspections, the state mandated inspections, plus the hydraulic test and the traction test. There will be a cost savings to switching companies, and the inspections that we currently pay are $55, are now $50, and the hydraulic is $150, it'll be $125, and the traction is $350, it'll be $270.
Any questions for John?
So that's why the company has used the word affordable.
Yes.
At the elevator.
Thanks, John.
Thank you, John. Next, I'd like to call on Nick to discuss the agreement between Human Resources and Yost Engineering.
This contract with Yost Engineering provides a software package for the county to do the monthly the checks for OIG exclusions for employees, all over the funding for the feds. It's mandated that we check that once a month. That provides us like a one-stop shopping. There's no increase in cost. It's $444 a year.
You've been using this for how long, Nick?
This is the first year. I don't know. This is the first time that the contract came up. I don't recall how long the contract was for, though. I don't know if it was 1 to 3 years.
But it's not a new system?
We only have started doing it within the last 3 years, so it's a kind of a new mandate.
All right. But it's not brand new this year?
Correct. It's a renewal of our pre-existing contract.
Any other questions for Nick? Thank you, Nick. Finally, I'd like to call on Mark Adams to discuss the agreement between IMTO and Multi-County.
Good morning, Commissioners. I have a proposal for two tower inspections. We have 2 towers, one at the Allen Road facility and one on top of the courthouse, and this is to do just basic inspections of the towers themselves, the physical inspections. Total cost is $2,650. To my knowledge, this is the first time we would have these inspected since we put them in, I think, in 2010.
Are there any questions for Mark?
our treasurer, John Gross, to review the cash management master agreement, for electronic banking services.
It really is, Commissioners, just updating a present agreement we already have, but they were signed by a prior commissioner. It's been 10 years since, 11 years since Orrstown Bank, who my office is, not only my office, but the controller's office as well. It's just an update, a present agreement, my solicitor and your solicitor both reviewed.
There's no major changes?
No, just updating your signatures really, and my staff's and Al's as well.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions for John? Thank you, John. Moving on to item number 11, Dana Best, review of 2014 indirect cost allocation plan.
This is the approval of the 2014 indirect cost allocation plan. It is the mechanism that we use to bill the federal and state grants for all the internal service and administrative functions that are outside of the grant direct funding. It's a requirement of the federal grants that this be signed by the commissioners, and we do it annually.
Questions, comments today?
Yeah, are there any big changes at all, Dana, relative to the cost allocation, indirect cost allocations in this versus the previous?
There are fluctuations between the departments. For example, if somebody has a big IT project, the funding will flow, those expenses will flow to that department that had the big project. So it does change up and down through the different departments, depending on what was going on in those departments.
Okay, but the methodology?
The methodology was not changed.
Dana, this is done retroactively?
No, the 2014 cost plan will be used to build 2016.
Okay. And so would this include any of the changes with our transportation part?
For transportation, we asked them to pull it out into 2 columns. One just building, the other the payroll and things, so that we're just billing Rabbit for the building portion. And that will be the mechanism that we use to bill the payments in lieu of rent to Rabbit.
Thank you. Any further questions for Dana?
So it does reflect the change that's occurred there with respect to Rabbit Transit?
There's no change in methodology. We just, instead of it rolling into 1 column, we've rolled it into 2.
Okay.
So it did not change the actual cost plan and the methodology behind it, just the presentation of transportation into 2 items, admin and building.
Okay.
And thanks, Dana. Moving on to item number 12, Lynette McCullough with 3 reviews of CNRC policies.
These policies are the annual review, but basically to add the Ray's name onto all 3 documents as the administrator of Cumberland.
Okay. So he's going to earn his money?
Yes.
All right. Any questions? So there's no substantive changes, no changes?
That's
It's
right.
simply to get Raymundo's signature on this. Raymond, are you comfortable with this? Good. We're glad. Thank you very much. Now, item number 13, the Commissioner's Liaison Reports. We'll start off with Commissioner Hurst.
Okay, not an awful lot to report this time because of no need for additional action. Yesterday's meeting of the Agricultural Land Preservation Board was canceled. A couple of updates, though. Offer letters have been sent out to the 6 top-ranked farms approved for easements in the 2015 program, and once these farms settle, Cumberland County will have surpassed the preservation of over 17,000 acres of prime farmland in perpetuity. Also, as I reported, I think 2 workshops ago, the Sunoco pipeline project will be crossing 2 preserved farms, which is permitted under the state's farmland preservation program. But as our staff has sent a letter to DEP, essentially, making known the fact that we have a vital interest in the preservation of these 2 farms, and and to ensuring that any land disturbance by the right-of-way project is kept to a bare minimum and not disturb the agricultural production that's going on there. It does appear now that Sunoco is working to avoid crossing the one farm that had been preserved under the federal program, which specifically prohibits such pipeline projects. And so, in other words, it doesn't appear that there will be any conflict since Sunoco is avoiding the farm preserved under the federal program. Commissioner Cross and I attended this week's State of the City address by Mayor Appenfuss. And I know the mayor had indicated that he's seeking an amendment to the so-called Harrisburg Strong Plan because they are facing some continued financial issues moving forward. How and whether he's successful in seeking to amend that is anyone's guess at this particular point in time. Yesterday, Commissioner Eichelberger and I attended the dedication of the restored 135-year-old juror in judge chairs that are now on display in the old courthouse. You know, we call it the old courthouse the new courthouse, but I was trying to figure out, this new courthouse is actually, what, 50 years old? Something like that. But in any event, it was a great ceremony yesterday, and a recognition of all that has transpired in the past 135 years in this county, and we reflected on that. You know, whether it's honoring our past and preserving our future, or preserving our past and honoring our future, I think they're kind of like interchangeable. And that's what yesterday's ceremony really was all about. And the craftsmanship by Roy Lindstrom in terms of being able to restore these chairs, which were really in a pretty dilapidated state, was amazing. I mean, he really did a wonderful job. So if anybody hasn't had an opportunity to take a look at his workmanship, I invite you to go across the street there. So anyway, thanks to the Cumberland County Bar Association and the Bar Foundation. These pieces of our history are now preserved for future generations. So that's all I have.
Any questions or comments for Commissioner Hertzler? Any, sir? Now Commissioner Eichelberger.
Yeah, likewise, not a great deal. The MHIED meeting is next week, Library Board next week, Western COG next week, Cumberland Economic Development Corporation next week. So sit in the chair time like this. The only other thing I wanted to mention was the Economic Development Corporation's economic plan, strategic plan being developed in coordination with the planning office, county planning office, is reaching its final stages, and they're Kirk is working with the EDC to begin scheduling a series of public meetings that will be taking place as part of the municipal planning code requirements for that. You may recall that the plan is going to be integrated essentially into the county's comprehensive plan, so there's a requirement for public hearing, public meetings, and they want to make sure that we have a good public input process on that. So we're looking at late October, early November, probably a series of meetings located east, west, and central of the county, perhaps some daytime meetings for the business community, since they're obviously impacted by some evening meetings, so it's convenient for members of the general public, taxpaying public. So the Planning Commission will be meeting and discussing the draft documents at their meeting on October 15 in regards to the specifics of that plan. So they'll be coming to the commissioners at probably mid to late November, assuming that it's doesn't run into any major happens. That's all I have.
Comments or questions for Commissioner Eichelberger?
Just one comment. I do think I want to commend the staff and the board of the Cumberland Economic Development Corporation. I was in attendance when they unveiled a working draft, and lot of hard work is going into this. And so I look forward to those planning commission discussions and further analysis of this. I mean, it still may need to be tweaked along the way, but it's all, geared toward doing all that we can to promote responsible economic development and expanding our tax base in Cumberland County. So, a lot of hard work has been going into this, and I appreciate that. I just wanted to.
Any other questions or comments from Commissioner Eichelberger? Thank you. I'd like to make a request for an executive session regarding personnel issues and ask, is there any other business to be brought before the Board of Commissioners?